annulment of the election. So when it comes to the political history of Nigeria, June 12, 1993, is a date that resonates profoundly with many Nigerians. It is the day when the country held what was widely considered the freest and the fairest election in its history. Yet this moment of democratic triumph was swiftly followed by a devastating blow and the annulment of the election result by the military regime. But what exactly happened, and why does this event continue to hold such significance? So when we look at issues like this, the election of June 12, 1993 saw millions of Nigerians head to the polls with a palpable sense of optimism. The main contenders were Chief Moshood Kashimo Olawale Abiola, commonly known as MKO Abiola of the Social Democratic Party, and Alhaji Bashir Tofa of the National Republican Convention, I mean to say. So the atmosphere was electric as citizens were eager to transition from the years of military rule to a civilian government. Reports from that day describe a process largely devoid of the usual electoral malpractice, with a high voter turnout and a genuine sense of national unity. So if we look at it also, just as the nation was on the cusp of celebrating this victory of democratic milestone, the unexpected happened. On June 23, 1993, General Ibrahim Babangida annulled that same election. The announcement came as a shock to so many Nigerians. Until this moment, Nigerians are still grappling from that particular experience. So today we shall be focusing on what are the lessons learned and how have we been able to survive this 31 years journey of democracy. If you remember, the president made a speech today emphasizing on those who played a key role in terms of how we got to that particular path, and also applauding Nigerians for being patient with respect to issues that is happening in the country. We have so many things to talk about, and that's the more reason why today we have a gentleman, one of our major guests, who is also going to take us back to how it was then and how we are faring now and what are the hopes for the future. And that person today is Dr. Felix Osamoje. He is the Christian Broadcasting Network Regional Director of Anglophone West Africa, with oversight functions over the media and humanitarian operations of CBN in Nigeria. And the rest of the, he is also the Chief Executive Officer of Flame TV, a television channel focused on providing Christian fun and entertainment to the whole family. He holds a BA in Theatre Arts from the University of Calabar, Nigeria, and an MA from the University of Ibadan, one of Nigeria's most famous university. In 2012, he bagged a doctorate degree in strategic leadership and entrepreneurship at Regent University School of Business and Leadership. Mr. Felix Osamoje, or Dr. Felix Osamoje, I mean to say, has had varied experiences working as an instructor, producer and director with Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority. Prior to joining the CBN, he lectured at the University of Abuja for 4 years, where he headed the Department of Theatre Arts, a registered practitioner of advertising in Nigeria. Mr. Felix, who has accreditation from the federal government of Nigeria as a training consultant, lives here in the Federal Capital Territory. So we'll be having this conversation with him, let him give us the reality of things then, and then how it is now. So after the break, he will be joining us.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 30.
Welcome back from that break. And just before the break, I did inform that we're having a major guest in the house today. And definitely what we are trying to look out for is to actually understand what was the essence of that annulment, and how are we faring 31 years after. Have we actually gotten to that climax of democracy? Has our election become better? And that is the reason why we have a major person here in the studio today to actually take us down history lane and also tell us if we're actually making progress as a nation. So Doctor, good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Good afternoon, thank you for having me.
It's always nice listening to you, because the last time you were here I listened to your program that morning, and so much was learned. And looking at today, this specific day, if you remember, before the previous the former president and President Muhammad Buhari left office, he was able to fine-tune the system in such a way that democracy day was no longer May 29, but June 12. Looking back to history, do you think we are making headway?
It's a good question, and in answering a similar question this morning, I made reference to the Carnegie Foundation report, which seems to point to the fact, in fact, their exact wordings was that Nigeria's democracy is backsliding. If you know what that means, it just means we are retrogressing. We are going backwards. Because if you look at the election of 1993, I think it was, when Abiola and Kingibe won that election on the platform of the SDP, that election has been considered the fairest, the most peaceful, and one that was generally accepted to be the best conducted election. And so when it was annulled on the 12th of June that year, it was such a disappointment for Nigerians, because for the first time we had elections that people didn't, there were no parochial considerations in the people that were voted for. There were no ethnic considerations. There were no religious considerations. Now, if you remember, Abiola and Kingibe were both Muslims, but there were no hue and cry as to, oh, why are we having a Muslim ticket? There was nothing like that. But when this government was coming in, you probably remember there was so much hue and cry. There was a lot of tension about a Muslim ticket. Well, it's because between 93 and the election of last year, 2023, it looked like we had retrogressed so much that people were apprehensive of a ticket that had Muslim. So that it's an indication of how much we have gone backwards. Because that election, I remember that we didn't have beavers, there was no technology. If I remember clearly, that election was the name was option A4, where you lined up behind the candidate you wanted to vote for. They took a count. All right, so we didn't even have technology to help us make the election easier, faster, yet Nigerians were patient. I voted in that election, I still remember. We lined up, waited until it was the cutoff time, because there was a cutoff time. If you didn't arrive at the polling booth at a certain time, then you couldn't vote. So once that cutoff time came, I remember we were all asked to line up behind the pictures of the candidates we wanted to vote for, and they took a count before we even put in our papers, which were then counted to like a way of double checking that the number of people that were counted tallied with the number of ballot papers that were in the box. So it made it easy. Nobody was afraid. We stood there, we knew the result, everybody went home. But now we've reached the point where everybody is suspicious of everybody. Why? Because we have not taken advantage of the gains of that election going forward, to the point now where there's so much acrimony about where this candidate is coming from. If it's not from this part of the country, it's a problem. Oh, why are you giving the ticket to this person? It should be from my place, or it's our turn, and things like that. It shouldn't be. Ideally, we should be looking for candidates who have the best pedigree to deliver the goals and aspirations of the people who they are going in there, to serve. Like I said this morning in one of the programs, that leadership in any sphere of in any sphere of human endeavor, politics, call it whatever it is, leadership is about service to the people. Leaders, people who go into political office, should see their positions that they just became, for want of a better word, exalted servants to the people. I use the word exalted servant because they have this high office. You are called senator of the Federal Republic or honorable member of the House. You are a servant to the people. You are there to serve them. But what do we get? We get the opposite. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't look like we have learned. And there are very good things that happened during that election. Like I said, it was devoid of any ethnic or religious coloration. Nigerians voted because they felt that Abiola Kingibe ticket was the ticket that was going to take Nigerians out of the woods. But we haven't learned from it. But
then if you look at it, the transition from that particular annulment is that we had a military rule
and
for some
interim government,
and then later on we had Abacha coming in and the rest of it like that. So if you look at it, we returned back to democracy in 1999 with Abdul Salam giving out that particular position, and then election was conducted, which Obasanjo won. In between, was there anything the military could have done to have placed us on that pedestal of development as a nation. Because despite the fact that they gave way for democracy to return, did they actually derail that we lost our sense of grip, or of not actually looking at our background, the differences that attach to us?
Well, you know, in fairness to the military, what are they trained to do? Fight. So when somebody who is trained to fight now decides to write a constitution, what do you expect? This constitution is going to have issues, because they are not trained to draft constitutions. Yes, we know that they drafted a lot of civilians who worked with them, but hey, like we say in leadership, the organization of the community goes the direction of the leader. The quality of the leader will determine the quality of life of the people in the organization or in the community. So if a soldier is the one leading the drafting of the constitution, you can be sure it's not going to be a constitution that will be one that is going to, one, easy to operate, and then secondly, will not go down well with the civil populace. And that's why today there's so much clamor for that constitution to be amended. What I expected, perhaps what the military should have done at that time is just create a system where civil society was given the responsibility, of course with a lot of guidance with other, maybe the judiciary and the rest of them, to draft a constitution that is acceptable to us. But when they lead it, they are not designed to do things like that. That's not what they are trained for. They are trained to fight. So I think that was a wrong move in the first place. So, and when you, it's like designing an engine of a car. If you gave a barber to do an engine and you gave an engineer to do an engine, who will come out with a better engine? You get the point. So, and the engine is what drives the car. It's the engine that moves the car. So if the engine is faulty, guess what? The car will be breaking down every second. Everywhere you go, it breaks down. Climb one small bump, it breaks down, because the engine is faulty. So that's where we are right now. We have an engine, our constitution, that has too many problems, too many challenges, if you like, too many potholes that we need to fill. I don't know whether to say we need to craft a new constitution. Maybe, but then when you look at what it's going to take, the time it's going to take, the resources it's going to take, one will probably say, you know what, let's amend this one and make it more suitable for where we want to go as a people.
Okay, now that you've mentioned the issue of constitution, which serve as the bane of our democracy, and looking at the antecedent of this constitution, yes, it has that military background and the rest of it like that. But on several counts, we've seen previous leaders trying as much as possible to have a national resolution on these constitutions. And then when you notice that we've had series of these, you also discover that the implementation has also been faulty over time. So what should we now do right now to see that, yes, we get a better constitution that can serve the purpose of us being a Nigerian?
You know, they think, let's even go back and look and see what kind of constitution did we have. We started operating the American presidential system, which in all intents and purposes was alien to us. We had operated the British system for a very long time, of course, until the military intervened, and then we have this presidential system. All right, we adopted the presidential American system, but didn't adapt it to our environment. That is a problem, because when you look at it right now, you will find that, personally, and this is my personal opinion, that the presidential system is costing us too much money. It's costing, there are so many strata of that system that is, if you like, just consuming a lot of financial resources. and is not providing enough value to the people. Why do we have that problem? We have that problem because we didn't adapt that system to our environment. We are not Americans. We don't think like Americans. Yes, the presidential system has its values. It's personally, in today's world, I would prefer it to the British system. But then you don't take it hook, line, and sinker without looking at your environment, looking at how your people think. And that's why today we are having chief executive officers of states who see themselves as, you know, the lords in the state. Because it's like, once you are there, all the power is in your hand. Yes, you have the state's House of Assemblies, but between you and I, you know what's been happening. We've seen situations where the governor has completely crippled the houses of assemblies in their state, so they are not able to function. So there are things we need to do differently to adapt this constitution to serve us better, instead of right now draining resources. Next question: do we need all the number of senators we have right now? Do we need all the members of the House of Representatives we have right now? Do we need all those numbers? Okay, if the answer is yes, do we need them to be full-time? If you remember, when I came here last week, I did talk about this. Perhaps one of the ways to make this thing more effective is to make them work as part-time legislators. Go back to your business, do your business. You come as a part-time member of the National Assembly and do what you need to do, and then you are paid an allowance for that period. Because honestly, if you sit down, I have not sat down to do the total calculation because I don't have all the data, but I think that the National Assembly is gulping so much money that could be saved and be put into critical infrastructure that will create the development that democracy is supposed to provide for Nigeria.
Let us even look at their coming, because before you see them in the House of Reps or in the Senate or in the State House of Assembly, election takes place.
Yeah.
And this election, I remember just a few days back, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan said something. He said in South Africa, after election, nobody thinks of court. But in Nigeria, after election, you win or you lose, you want to go to court. So when you look at the election of 1993, which was annulled, and then you look at the kind of election we are having, what kind of faith do you have in the electoral system?
The electoral system right now is so skewed because there's so much that is being done without transparency. I think that's the major problem we have with the electoral process. Let's be honest with ourselves, there's no electoral process anywhere in the world that is perfect. There's none. But then when you do what you need to do with transparency, it makes it easier. And I believe that it was because INEC gave Nigerians the impression that the 2003 election, there's going to be a lot of transparency, and so they assured Nigerians, oh, we have come up with machines where the results from the polling unit will be transmitted directly to the INEC site. And so everybody goes, oh, okay. So it removes all those going from polling unit to collation center, from collation center to another center before the thing is transmitted, and in between figures begin to change, or figures that never were there before suddenly shows up. Everybody, you know, now went with the confidence that, oh, okay, we're going to have an election that's going to be transparent. So it means once I finish voting, they're going to transmit that to INEC, so nobody is going to be able to doctor the results from the polling units until it gets there. But what did we get at the end? We came back to zero because we were told, oh, the beavers didn't work, or at a point we were told, oh, the INEC site crashed, even though we've heard later that it didn't crash, they just refused the results to be uploaded. INEC comes and says, well, electronic voting is not a law. That is the issue of transparency I'm talking about. When you give people the impression that you are going to do this, and at the end you don't do it, what it does is that from that point on, anything you do is looked at with suspicion. And that's why today there's so much lack of trust, what I call the trust deficit. There's so much of that trust deficit with our leaders. People don't trust them. Let's be honest, if you go out now and you do a survey, you will be shocked to find out that majority of Nigerians do not trust their leaders, because leaders say one thing and do something else. So until we get to that point where we are honest enough with the things we do, with the things we say, with the promises we make to the people, it's going to be difficult. And so long as we keep having that trust deficit, it's going to be difficult to get Nigerians to believe in any electoral process that will give them the dividends of democracy.
Okay, now that you've mentioned this, and looking at this same election process, and trying as much as possible to not to cast aspersion in terms of our electoral bodies, one key aspect in terms of how the outcome of election is viewed is the media.
Yeah.
And if you look at the 1993 election annulment, you discover that so many media houses were shut down, some journalists were captured and they were in prison, and so many things happened. But then some people also have this argument that the media also helps to make our election not to be good, because where they see good things, where they see what's supposed to happen, they try as much as possible to look back and then take money from politicians to hear things that are not supposed to actually be on the air. So how can we as media practitioners also help in the process of strengthening our democracy and also pushing for national development?
I mean, the simple answer here is be professional. All right? Be professional. If we in the media are professional and people come to us and want to doctor what we want to put out there, and we say, no, this is the truth, we have researched this to be the facts of the matter, and we are going to put it out there, it will help the people. But the Nigerian media personalities and journalists and everybody, we are all products of the environment. Now, if you're working in an office and for like 4 or 5 months you've not been paid salary because your organization say, well, you know, the things are hard, adverts are not coming, yeah, just keep managing, we will try. And then this politician comes to you and say, hey, you know what, I have this, take this small envelope, just something for transport, and you look, 2 million in the envelope. Let's be honest, what are you going to do? You've not been paid salaries for 4 to 5 months. Your wife is at home expecting you to bring money for food. The children are sitting at home, they can't go to school because there's no school fees, you've not been paid. Now, that's why I said we are products of the environment. When journalists suffer those kind of things, the slightest of inducement is going to make them, you know, switch. Yes, we've seen situations where journalists have published the facts, how things are. They've been arrested, they've been incarcerated. But those are some of the hazards of the profession. There is no profession that doesn't have its hazards. The media profession has its hazards. Part of the hazard is that if you tell the truth, you could be arrested. Hey, it's better to be damned telling the truth than to be a hero telling a lie. If as journalists and media practitioners we insist, because we are the fourth estate of the realm, we are the ones that are supposed to watch what all the other government sectors are doing and report back to the people. Oh, the presidency is doing this, the legislature is doing this, and the judiciary, this is what they are doing. And then they take the opinion, we take the opinion of the people back to the government, while we are taking what the government is doing back to the governed. It makes it easy to understand one another, so that people in government begin to feel the pulse of the people, so they can come up with policies and programs and projects that answers the questions that the governed are asking. And the government can say, oh, by the way, oh, we complained about this and they are doing something about it. It then takes away the mistrust right now that is between the governed and those in government.
Okay, let me come back to this because I'm still on this issue of mistrust. And as a result of that, you see politicians have also, they also have this mistrust in terms of the independency of INEC itself. That's why after election, you see them going back to court to seek for clearance on issues that the results had been announced. So now that we are having this issue of mistrust amongst even our politicians, one place they take their case to is the judiciary.
Yeah.
Do we still have trust in terms of the outcomes we've been receiving so far from the judiciary?
Unfortunately, if you see a lot of the cases, people also feel that the courts have been compromised. Because you see cases that are straightforward, and you are hearing judgments and you are wondering what's going on here. You know, when you see what happened, if you monitor the elections and you see what happened during the day, and then the person who loses goes to court, and then the thing is upturned, sometimes based on just some technicalities. Whereas this person actually really won the election, but some legal technicalities are used to remove the person and put somebody there who didn't really win the election. It's going to cause a lot of mistrust, because the people who voted are going to begin to ask, is it worth the time? Is it worth my effort to go out there and vote? I know people who after 2003 said, this is it. I'm not voting again. I'm going to waste. I'm just wasting my time. All the time I spent in the sun waiting to vote, I just wasted my time. This is it. I will never vote. And I've said to a few of them, listen, when you refuse to vote, what you're doing is you are contributing to the election of the wrong people. Somebody said to me this morning in another program, we didn't vote them, they selected themselves. It tells you how Nigerians are thinking. So when somebody says, oh no, well, we voted another person, but they selected who they wanted to select, it's mistrust. What you're hearing there is just mistrust. We do not believe that the process is transparent enough to guarantee that our votes count. So if people feel that their votes don't count, they're not going to come out to vote. And then it just makes nonsense of the whole electoral system.
Okay, let us take a listen to what the president said today during his speech when he read out some of the issues bordering the 1993 annulment of the June 12 election, stating emphatically about the strength of democracy. So let's take a listen.
Today, 25 years later, we celebrate the silver anniversary of our journey in democracy. We have studied the course. Democracy is neither a foreign nor abstract concept devoid of real-life meaning for us. Neither can we afford to reduce or minimize it to being nothing but the mere holding of periodic elections where one candidate and party outdo another. While elections attract democratic attention, they are but one aspect of democracy. Democracy is a way of life that encompasses a broad outlook of which elections are but a part. As such, a nation can have elections without being democratic, but a nation cannot be truly democratic without holding elections. That we have established a tradition of holding transparent, open, and fair elections gives credence to our democratic standing. That we have experienced peaceful transitions of government affirms our democratic temperament. Fellow Nigerians, true democracy shined its light on the daily lives of the people who live under its nurturing wings. It affords us the freedom and liberty to think as we want, live where we want, and pursue whatever legitimate endeavors suits us.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back from that break. And you just take a listen to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu speaking on democracy. And just like we've started this conversation, Dr. Osamoje has an expertise view on all that happened during the annulment and the transition even from the military rule in 1999 to the civilian rule. Definitely, even the civilian rule, I think, even as at 1999, started with a retired military general. Yeah. Should that even be a major way to transit from the military rule to the democratic process?
Well, I don't think that is a problem.
Okay.
Because the fact that somebody served in the military and has retired and decides to contest election, that shouldn't be a problem. He's a Nigerian. In fact, if you want me to be honest, his military training puts him in a very good stead to be a good leader, because I know that in the military they train their officers very well. If there's a place where they give quality leadership training, it's in the military. So they are in a good position to do that. So I don't think it's a problem. I think, like I said earlier, the problem is the engine we are running with. The engine is faulty. We need to fix the engine. It's not it's not the driver who is driving the car. That's the problem. That constitution that was crafted by military people is not a constitution that Nigeria should be operating. If we have to operate it, then there's going to be so much amendment to make it fit for purpose.
The Christian Broadcasting Network, and also you have a club, the 700 Club. I don't, is it 700 Club or something?
Yes, it's the 700 Club. 700 Club simply is the people, just call it the 700 Club. These are people who support what we do, and we call them 700 Club so that we feel a connection to them, and they feel a connection to us, because they give us the resources that we use to go to communities to do all the humanitarian projects that we do.
Okay, now that you play a major role trying to bridge the gap between you guys also play a philanthropic role, trying to see that, yes, you help the downtrodden. What are the messages you think they have? Are they actually okay with the system we operate now? And have they actually seen that development that is expected of us as a nation?
It will shock you to know that the answer is no. Community after community, when we go and do these projects, usually the first time we go, we say, oh, we are here, we came to do a survey or community profile, as we call it. We came to do this community profile because we want to come back and do a water well for you. You know, they are looking at us from the corner of their eye. We don't trust them. What we hear all the time, oh, some people came from government, they promised to do wells, and they asked us for this. In fact, we gathered all the money we could, we collected our farm produce, yams, rice, beans, whatever, we gave them, and we never saw them again. How are we sure you are not the same? And all the time we usually say to them, since we came to your community, have we asked you for anything? No. So why are you worried? So even if we came and didn't do anything, you haven't lost anything because we haven't asked you for anything. And most times, by the time we are done, we come back and we start. To them, it's like, it's unbelievable. These people never asked us for anything, never did anything. They told us they are coming, and bang, we're there. We ended up doing there's a particular community, I can tell you, we first went there, we found out that they had water problem. We did water. While we were doing the water project, we discovered that that community is minimum of about 12-15 kilometers from the closest hospital. No cars going in there except a few motorbikes. So we're asking ourselves, if these people become ill and there's an emergency, how are they going to make it? So we went back there, applied for grant. We got the grant from the Japanese embassy, went into that community and built a rural clinic for them. While we were building the clinic, in fact, when we built the clinic, the day we were commissioning it, we saw so many children. We were shocked at the number of children we saw there. When I saw that, now I asked one of the elders, where is the school? He said, there's no school. Oh my God. I said, all these children don't go to school. He said, no. The older ones who are old enough go to a school in another community that is about 9 kilometers away. So imagine a little child has to trek 9 kilometers to school, 9 kilometers back. At that point we said, no, we need to do something about this. We went back into that community, we built a school with grant again from Australian embassy. So when you do that and you see the amount of joy that these people show during the commissioning of any of this project, you can tell the level of deprivation they have suffered. There's practically, they don't hold back, they bring out the drums, they dance, they do all kinds of things. In fact, in one community where we went to commission a well, my boss, an American, was given a chieftaincy title, just to tell you how much they cherish those things that we go there to do. And you know, the painful thing is, these are the things that government is supposed to do. But we recognize that, in all honesty, government cannot do everything. Let's be honest. We need to be honest with ourselves. Government cannot do everything. So we want to go there and augment what government is doing, and that's why we go. We do the water wells, like I just told you. We do the school projects. We do women and youth empowerment project. As I'm talking to you now, a team is going to inspect a project we supported in Nyanya, where people were, young men and women were trained on how to make footwear. Because we do that, just give them all kinds of training, we have set up sewing centers for women, we've set up hair salons for women. We just come up with all kinds of projects. We go to rural communities, we do free medical services for them. Our team just came back from Imo State, where we went and did 1 week of free medical services. Then we have teams that handle surgeries, what we call the life-changing surgery. So we do cleft lip, cleft palate surgeries. I'm sure you're familiar with cleft lip. We do all those completely free, with the recognition that government cannot do everything.
So in 30 seconds, if you can just respond to this for us to be able to wrap up with the program. In 30 seconds, looking at our situation now,
yes,
you've identified the constitutional review, which is very, very key. But then what hope do you think Nigerians should have before 2027 election?
I think Nigerians should be very hopeful. You know, the thing I like about Nigerians, we are very resilient. Nigerians are, this is one thing I am so proud of being a Nigerian. Nigerians are resilient. No matter the amount of problems, Nigerians will overcome it. We are not short of manpower. We are not short of know-how. The know-how is here. Whatever problems we have, we can overcome them. And finally, the other thing I like about Nigerians is we have a very good sense of humor. So things that should weigh you down, Nigerians will turn it into a joke. And it's not that they are making light of it, but at least they don't allow it to weigh them down. So I believe Nigerians should be very hopeful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Felix Oysamo JD,
Thank you.
Regional Director of Anglophone West Africa, that's the Christian Broadcasting Network, and also the Chief Executive Officer of Flame TV Nigeria. It's wonderful having you here on the program today. This is how far we can go today, discussing the June 12th election and then the lessons learned. And he has actually outlined some of the challenges we are facing and the need for us to look at the Constitution, which is key for a better democracy. My name is Isanu. Have a wonderful day and stay blessed.